Good morning, everybody. Welcome to day 4 of this 5-day training, How to Believe in You, in Your Potential. Just like every single day task, if you could just let me know that if you can see the screen and if you can hear me to make sure that everything is being delivered nicely so I don't end up talking to myself. Okay, thank you, Emily. Nice to have you live. Thank you, Patricia. Okay, so I hope everyone has been able to watch the replay from day 1, day 2, day 3. And each day I have, things that I have probably forgotten to say. So I'm gonna add on and bring everything together today. So the way that I like to start today is to really remind you the essence of this training, how to believe in you. And we're talking about the identity, who you are is in your mind. And I think, the way that I'm running this time, which is to show the reflection first, because this is the meat of it, right? We have all the concepts and ideas and understanding of what all this is about, but the whole point is for us to be able to see the shift in our life. So I want to come back to this, idea of, okay, you are part of this training this week to be able to shift some sort of belief about you, right? There are all kinds of beliefs that we can shift, but on this particular 5-day training, we're talking about how to believe in you. So how to believe in you is about how you're seeing yourself and how powerful you feel or how powerless you feel. What's the level of confidence? And in those are, empower, disempower. Are you trusting yourself enough or are you in a fearful mode, right? It's the law of polarity. So how can we cultivate the belief in ourselves? Because the more, probably 10 out of 10 people would agree with me that the more you believe in yourself and being able to see what's possible, the outcome will simply reflect. So it's so essential to nurture and cultivate the ability to believe in ourselves. That's the seed of the result and what we can accomplish in the outside world. So this week, or today actually, the topic is decision to choose your potential. And I'm gonna get into why, decision is so important. And I don't think I have talked too much about the concept of frequency this week, but I'm gonna get into that. But so when you decide to change your belief and back it up with actions, I'm just reading the reflection, right? You will have the life you're meant to live. Yeah, do you agree? When you decide to change your belief and back it up with action, you will have the life you're meant to live. If you are into the work of conscious manifestation and to really understand the spiritual being, intellectual mind, and physical world, the 5D and 4D and 3D, this sentence covers it all. When you make a decision, which is the mental move, to change your belief, to shift how you see yourself, and then do the internal work to change the vibration so you can start becoming somebody else in your mind's eyes first, and then follow by your subconscious vibration, and then back it up with action because action can often contradict what you want to do. And that's where the fear or the underlying assumption of what you believe shows, because you can think and wanting something in the intellectual mind and then not be able to take action, right? So one of the like a gap and the contradiction that I see often is that when people want to do something different and new to be able to sort of expand their life, they have a desire of wanting to do it and they don't want to fail, so they don't take action. But the deeper assumption at the subconscious often I found is that people are more afraid of succeeding because that's out of their habitual familiar self that I talked about yesterday. We have this thermostat um, based on the conception of ourselves, how we're currently seen. And because that's so natural and comforting to stay, that thermostat stops us from taking action. So it's really important to decide to change and then begin working on seeing yourself differently, and then to shift the feeling about you, and then also to have the action congruent with what we want to see in the mind eyes. I think I mentioned a little bit around the interesting part of the body, because manifestation is about inside and then reflecting that to outside. But the body exists in the outside world, meaning the three-dimensional world. And then the consciousness is embodied. So it's like a blend of both, right? Blend of fourth dimension and fifth dimension. But every single action that we take has certain intention and energy behind it. So we do want to move the energy, navigate and manipulate energy in this physical world to be able to ask the universe and not to let the universe confuse. What do I mean by that? It means that you can see and imagine and then feel your desired outcome and who you want to be. But if the action is not there, it means that you're sending a contradictory message to the universe that I want it, but I don't want it. Does that make sense? So it becomes neutral and it stays the same. So first we want to decide, and I'm going to talk about the frequency in a moment, and then to work on changing how you see yourself, and then begin experimenting different action. It could be small at the beginning, right? If I see myself this way, I would take this action. So you experiment it and see how it feels to take those actions. That might be a little bit uncomfortable. It is going to be a little bit uncomfortable because it's the new version of you. But if you repeat that over and over, it becomes natural. So when you combine these three layers, deciding and shifting the belief and then backing up with action, you will have the life you're meant to live if you are consistently staying in that empowering frequency. Now, my invitation before we get into the topic today is what does that new life look and feel? So take a moment to imagine that, right? So you are here to shift some sort of belief around you and believe in your potential and possibilities. And on day one, I talked about the outside outcome needs to be there first, right? You want to see what is it that you want, and then what kind of belief you want to have. How do you want to see yourself that reflect that outcome? So just take a moment to go to that imagination right now. Like, what is that new life? When you have an unshakable belief, and when you're seeing yourself in your mind's eyes, the person who you want to become, what is the outcome that you're producing, and what is the state of mind and state of being, and what is the visual, and what is the feeling around it? It's really important to mentally practice going there. And then this activity of conscious imagination, or you can even say creative visualization, needs to be our fundamental practice, because I think I said this yesterday. This is the gift that we have as a human, a true gift that not any other animals have. And the more I do this kind of training and workshop, the more I realize that this is how humans are designed to live. We're a conscious manifester, and when we wake up to the gift and the power of who we truly are, which is we're connected with the infinite, and by recognizing that by forming a mental picture in our mind, we're giving form to the undifferentiated substance, which is the infinite universal intelligence. And then we're giving birth to that idea into form. No other animals are able to do that, but humans do. And this is how we're supposed to be living. And, and when you look at your life, there are three directions in life and things that people want more. People want more health and energy. So how is that looking? Do you want an improved version of you? Are you at the maximum potential as far as the energy and health? Second one is love and relationship, right? What is the version of you that you like to believe yourself as that is producing the outcome, the dream outcome as far as in the context of love and relationship, connection and all that. And the third one is work, fulfillment through your gift and money, right? Are you at the place where you're totally fulfilled, or do you see a greater potential in those life? So what do you need to see yourself as, and what do you need to believe in order for you to have a certain outcome that you desire? Is what we're practicing this week. So what does that new life look and feel is the reflection activity that I would like you to do today. So I want to go back to this slide of decision to choose your potential. So this week, we talked about what belief is, right? And then what identity is. And identity and belief is something that is dynamic and not determined, although it's highly influenced by our past and by our surrounding, but it's something that we can choose to change. And because we're a spiritual being, it also means that we're energetic beings. What does that mean? It means that we can use this mental faculty called imagination or thinking to be able to manipulate and navigate and direct the energy. So when you look at the body at the molecular level, we are vibrating high speed. So depending on the thoughts that you think, the feelings, emotions that you have a different vibration that you end up operating from. Now, frequency is a word that we often use in my community, is the level of vibration, but the easiest way for you to identify what frequency is the radio station, right? What kind of a radio station are you tuned in? So tuning into the radio station is the frequency. So the moment you make a decision to choose your potential, you are raising and jumping onto a different frequency and aligning with the image of you, concept of you at an ideal version of you. Because, and then something that I talked about extensively yesterday, because the theme of yesterday was, well, let me go back to the theme of each day. So on day one, I talked about essence and identity. So you can look at the identity level, the intellectual level, as a dynamic creature, right? And then the theme, and the number one thing that I wanted everyone to take away from day one is that yourself, who you are, resides in your mind. So how you see yourself, right? The how you see is what we want to change. So many people are focusing on the yourself to change. That's day one key point, right? Now, day two was about transcending fear. And the key there is to really understand that people have different ways to begin thinking about stuff outside influencing inside your thinking, or the past memory influencing your thinking. So to be able to suspend what gets in the way for us to freely entertain our conscious imagination. That was day two, right? We need to understand that where the fear comes from, so we become clear staying in this bubble of conscious imagination. Now, yesterday, day three was the habitual, transforming the habitual self, right? So habitual self is like a certain thermostat that we're in. We have this familiar version of us based on our memory and based on the environment. And this is something that I forgot to mention yesterday. That, and I love talking about this because not many people are fully aware, but it's so true that your environment is a part of your identity and thermostat. So, and the reason that I wanted to talk about this in conjunction with decision is for you to really become aware that we are like we have this kind of training and workshop to be able to change something about ourselves, right? And in order to change, we need to work on our inside. And I think from this training alone, now I think it's clear that it's not about changing anything, but the only thing that we want to change is to change how we see ourselves, that visual, that thinking that we're entertaining all the time, right? Now, what gets in the way is that because we're so locked in to our five senses, the 3D world, the outside environment is the same, and we're wanting to change our inside. The outside world is loud, and we are living in the same place. Unless unless your decision is to move to somewhere else, your environment changes completely. So you have a different idea around that change. But you go to the same coffee shop, you go to the same, you drive the same car, you go to the same place, you hang out and talk with the same people, and the layout and the furniture and the computer, whatever that you're surrounded by, are gonna be the same, right? Most of the time, like I would say 90-95% of the things are the same. So you're moving through life, seeing the same thing, hearing the same thing that you're hearing and surrounded by, and then you're working on changing. Does that make sense? Does that make sense how tricky that can be? So when you close your eyes and when you do the meditation and visualization practice, we tune in. But when we have the eyes open, we're not really tuned in most of the time. We're tuned out, right? So the practice that we need to cultivate is how much can we stay tuned in and be aware of the energy that we're in, the frequency that we're operating from when we are bringing the outside information through our five senses. Otherwise, we get sucked back into the energy that we're used to. Does that make sense? So I call that extended identity, like your possession, the clothes that you wear, all the things that you're surrounded by have a certain energy, and you are part of that dynamic energy. So you don't want to get sucked back into the habitual state of being, but to decide that internally, frequency-wise, this is how I want to see myself, and this is the outcome. And when you entertain that, your vibration raises because you get excited about this is what you really want. And that frequency is a radio station that you want to boom, tune in. How do you tune into a radio station? You tune in by consciously imagining and feel the feeling of it, and to sustain that energy and the vibration, even when you're having the eyes open. That's the practice that we need to do. It's interesting because I don't know if you have ever noticed, I do imagination, conscious imagination, visualization with my eyes open very often. I can imagine something as I see something visual coming from the outside. So I'm not suggesting people to do this because you might want to have a certain level of experience, but I am visualizing all the time when I'm driving. Both, right? When I walk, I am visualizing. And when you're waiting line, I don't know, DMV, long wait, right? Post office, usually long wait. Coffee shop, wait. You want to have a practice and habit of visualizing. Most people go to their phone, right? But that's the perfect time to entertain your conscious imagination because you're waiting and you can focus on that, right? So those things are the things that the habits that we need to begin developing in order to stay in that idea ideal version in your fourth dimension. So let's talk a little bit about what it means for me to tell everybody to decide to choose your potential. So I spoke a little bit about the worthiness or self-love stuff on the past few days. And I think we need to become very aware. We need to become very aware that there might be a part of us that is not allowing ourselves to receive. There is a part of us that is not allowing to receive. So we get busy with knowledge. We get busy with learning a lot of stuff, but we are not internalizing and embodying and actually making the change in our own life. And the reason that I wanted to emphasize this is because anybody can be happy at any given moment through their choice. But it's an inherent nature of the soul to want more, a better health, to want more energy, to want more meaningful relationship, to want more fulfillment through work, to want more money. And then I'm gonna talk a little bit because I think there's a huge misconception around money. People think that money is a material thing, which it is, the actual physical money. But when we understand the integration of the fifth dimension, fourth dimension, third dimension, and all those things that people are seeking, health, relationship, and money, comes from one consciousness, money is a spiritual thing. And I wasn't going to talk about this, but I'm going to talk about this. What if the entire, and I love this sentence starting with what if. Let's think together. You know, you're live, you might be watching replay. What if the entire way of the society in the world operating is not the way that humans can express fully? And I think everyone probably agreed that that is the case. Like the way that the school system is run to train people to become employees, which somebody else set your income ceiling, and not based on who you want to become and express yourself fully. And this sort of working situation and environment, I don't think that whole thing of, you know, the school system going to work is designed to express our spiritual essence in the 3D physical world fully. But most of us go through that because it's there and it's a conformity and it's a societal norm. I resisted going to school, university in Japan because I didn't believe in it. I ended up graduating. And my parents were really, they are artists and free spirits, so it didn't matter to them if I was studying or not. But my dad thought that going to university is a good thing because it makes you think about you and your life, which that was the case because I was just reading my favorite spiritual books one after another, going to the bookstore, not to the university. I just went through the university for the sake of going to the university and for the sake of graduating. This is the thing, like how much did you enjoy school, or how much did you just do it because it was a need and passing, you just went for the sake of passing as a transactional activity? How much that school environment and the work that you did fulfill your soul, and how much did you learn about yourself, and how much did you learn that the you exist only in the mind, and in order for you to change your belief and the outcome, it is that you need to change how you see yourself. Does that make sense? We don't learn that kind of stuff in school, although learning about ourselves can be one of the most gratifying and satisfying and fulfilling thing, because that's the cause of what we want to create and experience in the physical world. Does that make sense? So yeah, so what if the whole process, because I talk about the law of polarity, right? If you really want to experience and feel love, you do want to experience some sort of hate and emotional pain. I think I have, yeah, I think I'm going to talk about forgiveness in this topic today. But somebody said to me, not just directly to me, but to the group that I was in, which I never forget, that you can only experience the art and the gift of forgiveness if you have something you can forgive. So you any contrast. So I see school as a contrast. Like if you have been uh, around what I teach, you probably heard me saying contrast. Like I no longer call anything negative, right? The perceived problem or circumstance that is making us stuck is always a contrast that allows us to shift our attention to look something that is giving to us. So school, well, I didn't enjoy, and I don't think it's meaningful for an enlightenment or empowerment, although you meet people and you have a certain community. But a lot of the things in school to me is a contrast. So contrast to wake up who you are. Because this is not working, what is it that works, right? So the whole process is a contrast, and I do have a desire of wanting to see the school system shifting more about learning about ourselves and what's relevant. But at the same time, what's present right now is a contrast for us to dive deeper into what we need to realize. And then so as money, the challenge and the problem money is a great opportunity for us to look what we need to focus on instead. Not many people talk about the sense of gratitude. Like what if anybody and everybody in the world is supposed to be living freely without having any financial concern? And if money comes from consciousness, it comes from what we think and how we think. What if the receiving of money comes from the idea of the self, how you see yourself? And what if love and relationship that we're experiencing comes from the identity of how we see ourselves, but nothing else? What if we stop blaming or assuming that the circumstance around money, around love, around health is the reflection of what we're thinking moment to moment? What if life never happened to us, but it's always happening from and through us? What if we're manifesting all the time, whether we are aware of it or not, and human has an ability to consciously manifest whatever we want to manifest if we study ourselves enough? What if everything that is happening right now is just a path that is taking us to realize where we need to be, and moving forward, we can decide to choose your potential. Choosing your potential is to be able to see yourself based on your desire, what you want, not based on what's happening outside circumstance, what happened in the past. Because anything that happened in the past, whether it's 5 years ago, 1 month ago, or even 3 hours ago, doesn't need to dictate how we can choose to become by shifting how we see ourselves in our mind. So to go after and desiring that ideal version of ourselves, our potential, is, I believe, that what we're here to do. So I'm inviting everyone to make a decision to choose your potential over your comfort zone. I'm just inviting everyone to decide to choose your potential over fear that you might be experiencing. I'm inviting everyone to decide to choose your potential, because that expression of your potential is the only authentic version of you. I hear often this term authenticity. Authenticity at the level of the soul is something that you intuitively feel at the gut level. But there's all kinds of programming and limiting beliefs and limited way of seeing ourselves that is happening in our story, in our mind. And we can never be fully authentic if we're living in our story that limits us, because the true authenticity of who we are that we can create, who we are is whoever we want to become, whoever we want to see ourselves as in our mind. That is who we are, the authentic self. So to not to express yourself fully, to choose to not to receive whatever you have a potential but not going there, and choose to be limited instead of being limitless or unlimited, even though you can think anything you want to in your mind, is not a good thing. That's not what we're here to do. So I'm very sensitive with, like, when I hear people talking about and the words that people use, I can hear all the programmings, right? So you might not want to speak out loud in front of me, because I can catch all the programmings in the words and the tone and the energy of the language. But what we really want to focus on is to decide to choose the potential. And that starts with peeling off all the belief and begin focusing on practicing seeing yourself as an ideal. So one language, I think this is Mel Robbins who also talks about, which I love. One language that we want to eliminate from our life is to say that I am fine. I am fine with where I'm at. That is ego speaking. I am fine with where I'm at that is our limited version of ourselves speaking. Because the soul is here to express a fuller version of you. And for us to say that I am fine with where I'm at, it's almost like you're disconnecting that connection that you have with the infinite potential that is constantly waiting for you to recognize the presence by you deciding to choose your potential. When you decide to choose your potential, you align with that connection with the infinite, because that's what each individual, the branches of the tree, right? We humans are the branches of the tree, are here to do. Does that make sense? So the reason that I'm talking all about this, including the school system, about the money, conception of money and all that, is to make you hopefully realize that the world that we're living doesn't come from this perspective. And speaking of the extended identity, and we are wanting to change, you're here because you're seeking change. It requires a certain level of observation to not to confront to the mass. The mass might be going towards the wrong direction. And if you entertain your choice and decision based on what you see out there, which is easy for a lot of people to tend to do, because it feels like you're belonging and not out of the group, right? Because that's something that we humans and animals have in nature. Like we want community, we want groups, right? And then that's how we form relationship. That becomes a reason to not to be able to pursue your potential. So I just want you to sort of become aware of that. Now, let me talk a little bit about demonstrating self-love and total forgiveness. I did talk about what true love is. I can remember it was yesterday or the day before. Self-love is not about loving your programming. A lot of people, especially in the spiritual community, talk about let's love ourselves fully and to try to accept your limitation, perceived limitation in your mind, because people think that that's a great thing to do. If we understand that our essence is in the spiritual plane and your identity, your stories, and the limitation that we're holding in our mind is dynamic, not determined and changeable, there's no reason that we need to accept that. Does that make sense? Why don't we accept our potential? Why don't we choose to accept our possibilities? And why don't we choose to accept the best version of us? That is true self-love. Now that you got an idea that self is a conception that only lives in your mind and you can change by seeing differently, who is the self that we need to love when we say self-love? Does that make sense? So I'm all for inviting people to aim for and pursue the potential, your potential, which you can come up based on the desire, and really fall in love with that version of you. And one of the key item yesterday was that if you do not consciously and deliberately choose to go to your conscious imagination, you will, as a default state, unconsciously go back to the habitual version. So to be able to love yourself fully and love your potential, we need to consciously and deliberately go there on a day-to-day basis, imagination-wise and frequency-wise, in order to create that and bring that into the physical form. Let me talk about forgiveness, because Neville Goddard is somebody who I study a lot. And if you do not know that person, he was the mentor of Wayne Dyer. And I have never heard anybody else but him talking about forgiveness in a different way. You know, when you hear forgiveness, people always talk about the past, right? People always talk about the past. Letting go of what's not serving is forgiveness, right? And most of the time, people talk about forgiveness, forgiving something outside of us, somebody, some situation, some lie or some betrayal, whatever that is. Forgiveness has nothing to do with outside of us, but releasing the feeling that is living inside of us. And true forgiveness, which I love how Neville talks about, is not about releasing that feeling, but to align with your ideal version, your potential, and being in that energy of the desire, wish, fulfill. That's the language that he uses. But it really makes sense. Like, forgiving is you're giving yourself to be able to move forward, right? That's what forgiveness is. But if you don't have anything that the idea of what is the moving forward is, you're not forgiving, giving yourself the energy of moving forward just by releasing what happened in the past. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, this forgiveness thing, how it ties into what I was talking on day 1, day 2, day 3, where people start entertaining the idea using based on the memory from the past. But what we need to do is to intentionally visualize what you desire in the future, bringing that into the present moment, and then staying that wish fulfilled. Forgiveness is exactly that. To recognize what's not serving, but don't give too much energy to that, because then you will manifest more of that. but realizing your true potential and give energy to that so you can give yourself moving forward. That is a true forgiveness. Forgiveness gets completed when you align with your potential. So, what is the biggest risk in life? The biggest risk in life is not deciding to choose your potential. The biggest risk in life is not deciding to choose your potential, because that's what we're here to do. We're not here to live a life saying that my life is fine here. The biggest risk in life is to not live the life that you're meant to live. So, what is the life that you're meant to live? That's what you're desiring. So, coming back to the desire and the outcome, and what is the belief that you want to be holding onto, and to go after by deciding is what we want to begin engaging in. All the other things that many people see as a risk is much, much smaller compared to the risk not living the life that we're meant to live. The life that we're meant to live is the life expressed fully, engaging in your full potential. No other option, but focusing on that will give you the deepest fulfillment. So that is, I didn't talk too much about the law of cause and effect. So what I want to invite you to go back to is, when you decide to change your belief and back it up with action, you will have the life you're meant to live. And deciding to choose your potential is what we're here to do. And my invitation is to use the toolbox that you learned this week and understand the concept. What can we do every single day to be able to align with that energy? So what does that new life look and feel? What does that new life look and feel? That is what I want you to do as a reflection today. And tomorrow, we are not going to have any session, because I want people to have Friday kind of off, or catch-up day if you haven't had a chance to do the reflection of not watching any of the videos. And Saturday, I'm going to do a little bonus training with Q&A. So if you have questions, I want you to bring that into the Saturday Zoom. On Saturday, I'm not going to have any slide or anything, but I want people to sort of ask question verbally. So it's going to be a camera on type of Zoom. And if you're not able to, I'm talking to people who are not able to attend the live session. Live session is better because when you ask questions and when I answer, and then another question might pop up and it becomes more conversational. But I'm going to post on the Facebook group if anybody have any question that they want me to answer. So you can post that on the Facebook group. Or if you're not on a Facebook group and if you want to send that via email, that's fine as well. I'll make sure to cover all the questions, answer all the questions on Saturday. And also I'm going to talk about, for those who want to go deeper with this work, with this specific work of creating a lifestyle, doing and engaging in the conscious imagination, I am having a brand new upcoming program called Belief Accelerator that has 4 modules that takes people step by step how to actually implement this concept to embody. In this kind of training, I'm explaining, so that's an understanding layer, right? And then understanding, then you need to internalize, and then you need to embody in order for you to live what you learn. And it takes more than 45 minutes per day for you to do that. So that is a 4-lesson module that I actually created, a brand new program. And I'm going to be talking about that as well. For anybody who wants to go deeper, and anybody who is realizing, oh, this is what how I'm supposed to be living. and I need a little bit of support and framework how to plug that into your lifestyle to be able to. And then these 4 lessons are something that you can apply a certain belief, and then you can use it forever. If you want to use for something else, you apply that step again, apply that step again. So the lesson consists of 4 different modules, but basically you can use that for the rest of your life. So I'm going to explain a little bit about that, and then you can ask me any question about that on Saturday call. So Jacqueline is saying extremely interested. Yes, it's a very, very good one. So that is it, everyone. And then bring questions on Saturdays. And wait, what are you saying, Patricia? Wow, I love how you break everything down. Oh, good, good. My goal was to simplify because I tend to overload people. So thank you so much for joining, everyone, for watching replay, and I will see you on Saturday. Question, email me, or go to Facebook group, please. Have an awesome day.